my fellow freedom builders, and welcome back to the channel. Today's quick video is about Palantir. They had their earnings report yesterday, and right now the stock is up. As you can see, it closed yesterday at normal market close at 16.72, and right now in pre-market it is up some whopping almost 20%. Now that is great. The question is, should you buy it? Shouldn't you buy it? And of course, I cannot give you advice on that, but I can show you some calculations and give you a bit of insights into what I think of the stock. Now, first of all, if you don't know Palantir, I guess you do, but let's just have a quick look here at their website. They are one of the, you could say, few companies that are cracking the code of how to make AI a real business. Because what they are basically doing is, I think they have it here down there, saying powering AI assisted decisions making from war zones to factory floors. They are getting more and more new customers, both in government, that could be the military, but basically it could also be healthcare, hospitals, all sort of stuff. But it is basically for use anywhere. They have an extremely interesting broad range of products. The backside of that is that their products are fairly large and fairly expensive, so it's not something that a little mom and pop shop just buy up. It's multi-million-dollar purchases, but they are cracking the code into how to make this really profitable. They have, for instance, the AIP boot camps here, where they are educating people onto how to use it. And without getting too much in depth with this, I can just say that they have some really huge potential. Now, does that mean we should buy it? No, not necessarily. Let's have a quick look. Well, first at the price. As you can see here, the price have ranged from down here in the $6 range and up to 44. And at some point it was all over YouTube, and it would go to 1,000 and 5,000, and people were just insane. Then it had a fairly big crash here, and then they are slowly getting a build up in the price. Now, you could ask yourself, is it too late to get in? We'll have a look at that in a second. Let's have a quick look first at the earnings report, just a quick summary here. And as you can see, this is the Q4 2023. The GAAP net income, $93 million. That is a 15% margin. That is quite good. A GAAP income from operations, $66 million. What I really want to go down here, you can see highlights. Revenue grew 17% year over year. So that is $2.23 billion. Commercial revenue grew 20% year over year, and commercial, US commercial revenue grew 36%. However, the government revenue was only 14%. That is going a bit slower, and that is, as far as I can tell from the different analysts I have been reading today, there is they had expected a bit more here, but that is okay. Now, what I do like to see down here when they are looking at the full year and then the fourth quarter is that when you are calculating the fourth quarter into year-over-year growth, then we can see that these numbers are larger than the actual numbers for 2023. That means they are accelerating in the fourth quarter, and that is great. The year-over-year growth, if you're calculating from just the fourth quarter, is 20%, and as far as I can tell, that is quite satisfactory. All right, we can have a look at the numbers basically, but what I do want to take from this is that a 20% growth rate is actually reasonable. It's good, and it's maybe what can be expected, and that growth number is what I'm going to put into our value chart just in a second, because there's no doubt Palantir is an exciting business. And I do remember a while back when I did a video about it, I think it was about here, where I said, well, with the numbers we had there, and that is just half a year ago, something like that, with the numbers we had here, I didn't see any really fantastic growth potential just as of right now, which has turned out to be true. However, I got almost slaughtered in the comment sections, and people said I didn't understand what Palantir was doing and all sort of stuff. And that is not really the point here, because I do know quite a lot of what they're doing, but it's not really the point. The point is, with the expected growth, is it then at a good price right now? So let's jump in to the valuation chart. As you can see, the price to earnings have been a ridiculous 253. That will, of course, not continue. The forecast over the next 12 months is 57, but that will drop as well. I don't see, with the setup they have, where it is a bit slow to get new customers in, there are some bottlenecks here. I don't see I don't really see a potential for a PE ratio of 57. But let's remember it for now. We go into the valuation chart. Let's go out 5 years here, meaning that this earnings report and then some more. And let's just put in a growth rate of 20%. Now, if we put in the almost 60, let's just put in 60 in price earning, that is higher than estimated just for the next 12 months and a lot higher than it will be in the future. But with a monthly with an annual growth rate of 20% in earnings per share, which is what they have had this year, and people are quite thrilled about it. So I don't expect the earnings per share to grow a lot more than 20%, but let's just bump it up to 25%. With 25% and a price earning at 60, over the next 4 years here, we can look into a gain in price of 103%. Now that is great. However, when reading comments, when watching YouTube videos about Palantir, 100% is nowhere near what people are expecting. I can see people saying that in 3 to 5 years it will be in instead of just being in 35, it'll be in 250 and 500, and I can see some outrageous numbers out there. Now, let's just assume that they will keep that 25% growth in earnings per share, but let's assume that they drop down to a more reasonable, well, let's say first 50. If they go down to a price earning of 50, which still means that investors only will have a 2% yield up front, that will bring them down to 69%. What if they go down to 40 in price earning? That will bring them down to 35%, which is just roughly a tiny bit higher than just putting your money into a risk-free investment of 5%. So 25%, as far as I can tell, is pretty much reasonable to expect if they are looking at the current setup that they have and with the potential of getting people in at the speed that they are doing. But if the price earning drops to 40, that is a yield of 2.5% in a scenario where we are getting 5% on bonds, then 40 I think is more reasonable. So do I think it's a good investment right now? Well, it depends. If you want to have some money allocated into AI, then Palantir might not be the worst place to do it, because they actually have a very, very good product. They have a huge customer base. They are in the governments. They are in the commercial services. They are basically everywhere, and they are growing. What we just need to remember is that we need to look at what price earning will people pay and how much do we think that it could grow. You might say to yourself, okay, what if it actually gets to a 40 here in price earning, but they have a 40% growth in earnings per share? Well, then we're looking into 90% over 4 years, which is reasonable. But let's have a little glance into what it would take just to get to the 200, which is in the low end that I have seen in potential estimates here over the next 3 to 5 years. Let's just bump it up to, so we have 5 years here, just to be a bit more fair. And let's say that price earning can be even at 50, even though I don't think that is possible. Then we will have a quick look at what would earnings per share need to go up every single year in here to reach 200. Well, they would have to get a 93% increase in their earnings per share every single year. And that means almost a double every year. I know I'm not counting, I'm counting 16% here, which is actually 20 with the newest numbers here. No, it was actually, sorry, it was actually 17% at least in the revenue growth here. So what I'm saying here is that at the current price, well, the 200, and as I said, that's even in the low end of what I've seen on different YouTube channels, 200 is absolutely insane. It is almost Elon Musk ARK Invest Tesla numbers here. So is it a good investment? As I said, it depends. I think Palantir will be among the winners in the coming years on the AI scene. That doesn't necessarily mean that it's a good investment. And if you are looking for 1000x or 100x or whatever you're looking for, well, they need to either show some insane growth, or if they only have, let's say, 25% growth, which is also amazing actually, then they would need to, the investors would have to be willing to pay, well, a price earning of what to get to 200 up here? Well, it almost stops counting, but we would have to keep the price earning up at almost 300, which is not really likely. So I think there's a good chance that Palantir can grow, if we look in a 5-year time span, can be looking at a reasonable growth. And I wouldn't say that I could never buy it. I actually still think let's say a 70% growth rate over the next 5 years is very, very reasonable. And it could even be higher if price earning is a bit larger here, but somewhere between 70 and 100% over the next 5 years. That is good enough for my portfolio, and I will dive a bit more into the numbers. So I couldn't rule out completely that I would buy a bit on Palantir into my US portfolio. I don't own it today, and I might want to have a look at least a quarter more, maybe 2, just to make sure that the numbers that came out here is not just a fluke, some short-term thing. I don't think they are. I actually think they have a decent business. Just remember that just because AI is the future, and it probably is, and just because Palantir is huge at AI, that doesn't mean that it is at a good price right now. Just remember that out there, and you'll save yourself a lot of money in losses and a lot of agony and lost sleep. All right, that's all for now. Feel free to put your comments in the comment sections below if you agree or disagree. Take care of yourself and your money out there. I'll speak to you again shortly. Bye.